Hello and welcome along to another live episode of the Tackling Sport podcast. And it's Thursday night. Once again, it's Daniel here. Alongside me, as always, is my brother Sean.
How's it go?
And bottom of the screen in your picture there, you can probably see him pointing to a Spurs hat to make sure everyone can see it. It's the return of James Mowat, Tottenham fan, obviously. But James, welcome to the podcast.
How you doing, Dan? Dan put out the bat signal this morning, and here I am. Welcome to Views. All the views going today, Dan.
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to be breaking all sorts of records here on the live stream, James. But I suppose a little bit word on Tottenham before we start, Jim. Like you've obviously been chirping in the comments the last few weeks. We said we'd get you on for a summer kind of podcast. I guess Europa League final reaction. Not that Spurs are part of it, but we just said we'd get you on and see how things have been anyway.
Oh, it's been a tough few months now for Spurs, to be honest. Ever since the turn of the year, we were first coming in December. Last time I was on this podcast, we were first, and we finished 8th. Finished ahead of Arsenal again, but conference football next season. So yeah, I won't be on next year anyway.
Yeah, are you happy enough with Europa Conference League? Because I know you and Sean had a bit of a spat on Monday.
I mean, European football is European football. If Arsenal are good enough to be in Europe, they'll be in Europe, So we'll take it. I'd rather be in it than not be in it.
Yeah, I think I'd marginally still prefer Arsenal's positions. But anyway, if you're watching on the stream, do like the video, it'll help us reach more people and get your comments in for the show. But maybe Sean, start with you on the Europa League reaction. A lot of sent out the SOS to a couple of United fans, and it didn't seem that interested to come on. This was a big moment for them because I know a majority of them seem to be kind of back in Ollie for the summer, where all of a sudden it seems like the same problems maybe that were happening a few months ago that's come back in Ollie's in-game management, I guess.
Yeah, it kind of felt like United got lucky in the sense that, when you finish third in the Champions League group, obviously you've that lifesaver of the Europa League, and it kind of the way it opened up for them, it felt like it was theirs to win really from early on. The thing about it is when something like that happens to you and you don't take it and you lose, it just looks worse. It would have been similar if you go back to the World Cup with England. England got a great draw at the World Cup and it opened up for them and they took it. So it looks great. But when you don't take it, it just looks horrendous. And I didn't watch the first 45 minutes was at training, but when I came back and watched the second half, I can't really remember a chance they had by Rashford's miss when he could have been offside. They were hopeless really at Manchester United were, and I'm not sure where they go from there really. The thing with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is, I don't know if you can blame the team selection or anything. I think, maybe not playing Fred, I actually thought it helped McTominay, because from what I saw in the second half of McTominay in extra time, he was their best player. He was trying to get them forward. But I don't know. I'm just not sure at the end of the day what it comes down to. Did they need a new goalkeeper? Obviously, Maguire wasn't playing, bit of a loss, but you look at other teams who've lost big players, big centre-halves, they even, go to Liverpool and they've survived it and they've found a way through it. There just looks to be something wrong with that United side. And even with Unai Emery, they were 1-0 up and he took off Carlos Bacca. I think it brought on a couple of defensive midfielders, but Villarreal were in control of the game. United never got at them. It was a massive game, I thought, for Fernandes, and I think he'll always have this over him now in a big game. Will he pull Manchester United out of the fire like Kevin De Bruyne does? Obviously you can name a few games this year. De Bruyne didn't have a massive influence in the Manchester derby, both of them really. But in the Chelsea game, in the Madrid quarter-final a few years ago last year before lockdown, he was phenomenal in it. And, if you're trying to compare Bruno Fernandes to the top players in the Premier League, he has to do it in a big game. And, to be fair, I don't think it was solely his problem. I don't think they got the ball enough times to him. But there's something massively amiss at Manchester United.
Yeah, James, I saw you kind of giving that kind of look when he was talking about Bruno Fernandes. Are you supporting of him in big games? Does he not quite do it?
I don't know. I think he's just very. How many penalties does he score? And then everybody's saying he's one of the best players in the league. De Bruyne is miles ahead of him. He's just. And every time someone goes near him, he's diving on the ground or moaning or whining. He's actually. I don't know. He is a good player. Spurs could have got him, but they went for Lascelles, so that's a different story altogether. But I don't know. I think he doesn't really do in the big games. But sure, nobody did really last night for United, did they?
Yeah, and what's the crack with United? Were you ever an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer fan? Because it just seems that did Solskjaer out bandwagon kind of? It was only really Damien Delaney driving the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out bandwagon. In fairness to him, no one else seemed to be doing it. And I don't think necessarily there's been an overreaction to the loss, but I almost feel like people have suddenly decided now is the time to kind of stick the boot into Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Is that kind of fair assessment there?
I saw that they're offering him a 3-year contract or something. Today,
So
I saw
that
the Telegraph reporting
Telegraph,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, if United had anything about them, they'd be going for Antonio Conte right now. They'd just get rid of that clown and get in a real manager. I think Conte would actually probably challenge next season properly.
Yeah, like Sean on Conte, like I know he won the league with Inter, but I don't think they can support him. Like someone like him or a Pochettino. I know we'll get to that in a sec, Jim, but there is options out there for United. Like, but it's the same old. Are they going to kind of stick with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Like they flew out Alex Ferguson all the way there to hand the Europa League trophy. It's a bit kind of funny.
It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. I mean, if Arsene Wenger ever does that with Arsenal, I'd lose the plot. I mean, obviously Sir Alex Ferguson is one of the greatest managers of all time, but I mean, to have him eating lunch with the player, I think it's too much, And De Gea put up an Instagram today, and there's a photo of him and Alex Ferguson. I mean, it's just, I know he coached De Gea and he brought him to the club. I just think it's a bit too much.
Should there be like a full separation, like Arsenal and Wenger, because that's not working either?
No, I think there should be. You should definitely still be involved in the club, or as an ambassador and things. But you got to remember, Sir Alex Ferguson was massively behind David Moyes as manager. He's not afraid to get his mates in. His son's directing his new documentary. He's kind of known for looking after people. But it just felt weird looking at it. Look, I think with Solskjaer I think everyone, if this wasn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and if this was someone else, everyone in the media and he wasn't their friends would be saying, "Are United a big club anymore?" They'd sack this guy who's might work, he mightn't work, and get him a top manager as Zidane. You look at Zidane's record in the Champions League and win, I think, 2 La Ligas. You've got Conte, you've got Pochettino potentially, which I think is quite bizarre. If that is the case, you can imagine maybe Mbappe is moving or something, because it does seem weird to have potentially the best player in the world at your hands and want to go back and manage Spurs or go back and manage Manchester United when you clearly have Mbappe, who is the best player. So I'd imagine there is a lot of trouble upstairs in PSG that Mbappe could be moving on. But it does feel weird, because I think Ole gets a massive free pass because he is one of the lads. He's Gary Neville's friend. He's Rio Ferdinand's friend. They've all played with him. And it's just Paul Scholes. I mean, the way Paul Scholes was talking about Villarreal, I actually watched a bit of the analysis that came out. You can be a great footballer and just be an awful pundit, and I think a lot of them fall into that. But
yeah, it just struck me that he checked the La Liga table just before he came on air, by the looks of it.
And obviously Villarreal were doing a lot better, certainly before Arsenal played them, and obviously Europa League has been prioritised, and rightly so, and they've dropped a few positions, and La Liga is obviously incredibly tight at the top, or was. But it just, if United, I think the narrative would be different if it was a different manager, if it was, maybe a young English manager, if it was someone who maybe hasn't that cult status and has played with a lot of these players who had played with Roy Keane and all these guys, that if United are a big club, they'd sack him and they'd replace him with a Conte or a Poch or even a Zidane, and give them the funds. Because if they give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the funds and it doesn't work, it does feel like another step backwards for United. And it does feel like Van Gaal, when he spent money on Di Maria and Mourinho, and I know Mourinho had difficulties with players, but he brought in a lot of players and you end up with a lot of loose ends. And I think the narrative is just weird that, surely United should be really kicking on and replacing him and maybe getting a Conte. And I think Conte would work at United. A lot of people talk about the United way or the Arsenal way or the Liverpool way. A lot of those clubs just want to win, and it doesn't matter how you win. And Mourinho is a prime example of that. And look, Mourinho maybe didn't work at United. You got to question some of the signings or the lack of them, especially that summer, his last summer, when he wanted an extra defender and he never got it. And the following summer they went and brought Harry Maguire when they could have got him maybe a little bit cheaper at Leicester. So it does feel weird with United, but it felt like a massive step backwards for them last night. And it did feel like it was a golden opportunity. They were kind of gifted this Europa League. and they didn't take it. And when you don't take it after being gifted something, it just makes you look an awful lot worse. And after finishing second to win the Europa League, we'd all be sitting here going, that's progress. Of course, they've won a trophy. United are now 5 years, I think, without winning a trophy.
2017.
Yeah, or 4 years, yeah. So it's a lot. It's a lot to go off there.
Yeah, and just on the Pochettino, it's probably a good time to bring him in, Jim. Obviously, some good sources are saying he's, unhappy. Well, not really settled in Paris. There might be a few things going on behind the scenes in the football club. First of all, would you welcome him back at Spurs, or the other way around? What would you think if he joined Manchester United after all the rumours?
I think there's a bit of a problem with the owner there at PSG. I think he's very involved, and I don't think Poch likes that. I would take it back at Spurs, to be honest, but I know if he's going to be back, I'm happy to take him back. But at the end of the day, he still has a lot of the players there that got him sacked. The likes of Aurier and Sissoko and Dyer, not useless bunch of crap. But I don't know. I'd rather get Conte, to be honest. I think that I think it's probably ambitious maybe for Spurs. Conte would be my first pick. If Poch was back, I'd take him, no problem. But I don't know if he will be. If he went to United, though, he would be back to United, to be fair. Even Owen Hargreaves was saying last night that United are only a centre mid, a centre back, and a right winger away from winning the title. I think they need way more than that. I think if they got Harry Kane, I think they would have a good chance, but I don't think Harry Kane will go to them. But I don't know. I think I can see him staying at PSG, to be honest. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I know he's like 2 to 5 or something at the moment, but I don't think he's going anywhere.
But just on that, I think you started a list of kind of crap players in Spurs. Give us a few of them there that you want to get rid of. You mentioned Aurier.
How long do you have? The players I'd sell Aurier, Dyer. I'd sell Sanchez would be the first one I'd get rid of, to be honest. Ben Davies. I'll get rid of Sissoko. I'll get rid of Winks. I'll get rid of Bergwijn. Get rid of Lucas. Get rid of Lamela. Yeah, there's only about 3 or 4 left.
Yeah, there's Kane, but he's gone as well. So you're left with
Kane's not going anywhere. Nobody can afford Kane. He's 160 million.
Yeah. City possibly.
Sure. There's no way he's going to go. Nobody can. There's no pandemic going on, maybe, but not at the moment. No, nobody can afford him. Maybe Chelsea, but Chelsea have all the money, and he won't go there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how that plays out. John, just on that, the Europa League, and maybe a point on the Villarreal stuff, and it just a comment here from Morgan Ryan saying, like, you kind of said it'd be progress, and that all the United fans, if United had won the league and finished second now, Mourinho finished second and won the Europa with United, albeit in different seasons. Maybe on a wide. No, they finished 6th, won Europa, and then they finished second the following year.
And won the League Cup.
I think that was it. But they won the League Cup, I think, for Europe. Anyway, but basically, for Unai Emery, a lot of people were saying, why did Arsenal sack him based on what he's done? And it's very hard to argue when you're looking at the cold, hard facts about that sacking. And, we might have made a mess of that Europa League final a couple of years ago, but did we not make a mistake letting Unai Emery go? And maybe the same kind of thing here with Jose based on what he did at United. Was he underappreciated too? I know there's a lot in that.
No, I just think both were probably not at the right club. I definitely don't think Unai Emery was at the right club in Arsenal. Certainly not to replace Arsene Wenger, and I think it would probably replace too much. And there's a lot of people gone from the club that probably, looking back now, probably shouldn't be gone. I think with Unai Emery is, look, I think he's a very good manager. I think he could go to a club, maybe of a lesser stature, maybe of an Everton, and do really well in the Premier League, because that's where his success has come. If you look at PSG, you got to remember the 6-1 in the Camp Nou. I think that's kind of the Unai Emery we saw at Arsenal. But there's no doubt, look, this is his competition. Villarreal were very impressive over the 2 legs. They're a limited side, yet Moreno is just so efficient in front of goal. And I kind of took note, because before I went to training, Santi Cazorla gave an interview and obviously was on Twitter, and he said, Moreno is one of the best players in the world. And when Santi Cazorla says things, you kind of listen as an Arsenal fan. And I had in my head that he was going to score, and when I checked my phone at training and he scored, you kind of knew it was kind of written for Villarreal. And I think with Unai Emery, he suits that level of club. I'd imagine if he went to a Roma or a Lazio, a club really craving success and would do anything to get there, rather than, I'm not sure he'd work at a United or he'd work at an Arsenal. I just think with him, if he goes to a bigger club, that expectation gets a little bit more. I think he'll get another crack at a big club. Certainly, or a lucrative job, a good job. The Arsenal replacing Arsene Wenger was always going to be a big job to someone. But there's no denying what he's done at Villarreal is incredible. And that's the Unai Emery. It was kind of written in the stars from early on when, the semi-finals were announced and Arsenal were playing them, and I still think Arsenal could have given that United performance a good game, but Unai just gets the job done. It was kind of inevitable then when it was coming to penalties. It kind of looked like both sides were playing for penalties, which is really bizarre. And if anyone looked like they were going to score, it was Villarreal. So the team you'd probably expect wanted penalties more. It was just, I think he kind of got helped. He got helped by Ole a little bit, and certainly by United. I think some of those players need to look at themselves more than the manager.
Yeah, Jim, maybe on Ole first, and then I want to bring up maybe Arsenal. He didn't make any subs until like the 100 and something minutes, and he brought off arguably a player that looked the most dangerous in Mason Greenwood. Like, it was a bit of a strange call on his part, surely.
Yeah, sure. He had 300 million on the bench there. I think the population of Villarreal is only 50,000. So I don't know what he's doing. Even with Emery there, freaking 1-5 right back, an unbelievable game, unbelievable few games in the Europa League. Even against Arsenal, he was very good. Then Etienne Capoue, who was at Tottenham as well, and was in the Championship a few months ago, got man of the match last night. So I don't know. He's doing well with these bang average players. While Ollie's doing not so good with better players. So.
And then just on what Sean says with Unai Emery, did Arsenal give him a hard time back in the day? I know you're saying Mikel Arteta's only in the job because he's good looking. Surely you don't actually believe that, do you?
I 100% believe that. I don't know why. Arsenal, how he hasn't been sacked at Arsenal. Arsenal have been absolutely so poor this season, and last season they didn't even do well either. But surely he's won some better than Mikel Arteta at Arsenal. Surely there's a handful of managers even out there at the moment that you'd rather get than him.
Sean?
Yeah, look, I think it's an interesting one because when a manager comes in, you always want them to succeed. But I'm not sure he is getting the best out of the players. But I've come to the conclusion that he is going to stay because the club wants him to stay. Yeah. So there's no point maybe dwelling over.
And they brought in your man from United. Did you see that? The fitness guru today. The name will come to me in a second, but they brought him in. He used to work with Alex Ferguson. So, and Steve Bowles obviously left the club as well. So there seems to be a lot of things happening because he was obviously Sean in charge of the Arsenal under-23s.
Yeah, and they nearly got relegated, yeah.
Yeah, they won that, yeah. Absolute shambles. Like the Arsenal under-23s, like Jesus Christ.
I thought they used to be good.
They haven't really been for a while.
In fairness to people like Steve, but all the players are normally training with the first team as well. But he's been there for 33 years, and it's probably time for him to move on.
Yeah, I suppose we'll move on to the Champions League, lads. Manchester City versus. So we actually got one question in here. Yeah, and this is actually a good point from Emmett. Sorry, just before we move on, Bruno winning the toss for penalties and going second, the buggiest move of 2021. He's actually correct because you win 61% of the penalty shootouts, according to a study in America, of if you go first rather than second. So I guess, Jim, there's not really much talk of penalty shootouts from Ole Gunnar if Bruno's going up. And if you watch the video, he's actually not really sure what he wants to do. And even the referee looks shocked when he makes that decision. So I think that's a good point from Emmett.
Well, to be the first, I could say Emma's definitely done at least 15 or 20 things muggier in 2021 than Bruno Fernandes are there. I don't know. I think I'd rather go second, to be honest. You get Dave Miss, you get a chance of scoring. No? I remember we were at penalty shootout Park a few years ago. We went second and we won.
Yeah, but that's just like a one-out. Like, the stats don't lie, I guess. And that's, I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean. But obviously, in a situation like United's penalties were always under more pressure. Like the argument, if David De Gea misses, it's a Villarreal keeper and not make it as a result.
As a goalkeeper, would you rather be for second or first?
I'd want us to shoot first so I can be the hero and say second.
No, that's not going to happen.
I think that works. Did you see your man, Pooley's penalty doesn't get a mention. The keeper's penalty was unbelievable, straight in the top corner. Villarreal
And
keeper.
David De Gea's problem with David De Gea's, it was too telegraphed. It was actually a good penalty in itself, but it was so obvious he was going there from the start. So
Do you know what? Do you know what is one of the most ridiculous things? You know, people are blaming Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for not replacing Dean Henderson with De Gea. I mean, this has become obviously a new thing because it's happened a couple of times. Probably most notably Tim Krul for Klesen. But it's just like you can't blame a manager for keeping the keeper in. You know, it's even more of a vote of confidence for the keeper. And obviously, when it's all said and done, De Gea is not a great penalty saver. It was the same thing with Petr Cech at Arsenal. But you just gotta bite the bullet and keep it. I mean, you can't blame Ole. You can blame Ole Gunnar for a lot of things. Same way you can blame De Gea for a lot of things. Bar, you know, you can blame him for a lot of things. Bar him missing a penalty. He should have saved a couple, but you can't blame him for missing one.
Yeah,
are you talking about? Go on, Jim.
Sorry, I saw De Gea hasn't saved a penalty in 6 years now. I know it worked with Tim Krul in the World Cup or the Euros, but I think that was just a once-off.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Are you talking about bringing him on, Sean, or starting him initially?
Yeah, no, like bringing him on. I have no problem with De Gea starting. He's actually played well a couple of times. Recently, he had a great game against Rome in the second leg. But you know, this idea you can bring him on and bring on Henderson. Now, first of all, Dean Henderson's fairly inexperienced goalkeeper, certainly at this level, and I think it just puts way more pressure on them. The thing with Tim Krul is he's an exceptional penalty saver. I think that's well known. So he's a specialist in the air. It's probably similar to Caballero when Sarri wanted to bring him on in the Carabao Cup final and Kepa didn't want to come off. But, you know, I've seen loads of people lambasting him for not bringing on Henderson. I think it's extremely odd, to be fair. Jolly.
Henderson's not really known for saving penalties either, is he?
No, he's a better record, certainly than De Gea, but still, it's a much of a muchness.
I have a better record than De Gea, James. Can you believe that?
I don't think that's true, though. Go on, next question.
Well, it is. It has to be. 36. Champions League final, Jim. On to the next question. Manchester City versus Chelsea. And I'm thinking, like, I don't know about anyone else, but when Madrid and Zidane started winning whatever the 3 or 4 Champions League they won, having not been the best team in Europe for a couple of those years, I felt like Zidane has a couple of too many Champions League for my liking. I love growing up, would love the best team to win it, but obviously that doesn't happen all the time in Champions League. Like, not slagging your Spurs team, Jim, but there's no way you were the second best team in Europe when you came up against Liverpool. But the good thing there was Liverpool were the best team, if not one of the best teams in Europe when they won it. The reason I'm going a roundabout way is like Manchester City have probably been the best team in Europe for the last 2 or 3 years. Pep Guardiola has probably been the best manager for the last 15 years. But does he need a Champions League to kind of showcase that? Because he hasn't won one without Messi or Barcelona.
I think he definitely has to. You know, he hasn't won Champions League now in 10 years, and he's had the best teams for the last 10 years as well, you know. That's the only kind of problem he's had, really, not winning the Champions League. I mean, Man City's team's unbelievable now. Like, they got fullbacks who are worth 50 million, got sub fullbacks who are worth 50 million, got centre backs who play like 3 games a season who are worth 50 million. Like, it's not even a fair playing field, you know. But yeah, if you can't win it with Man City on the weekend, then he's never going to win it.
Yeah, my concern, Sean, is that Chelsea have a right chance in this. When I say concern for Pep Guardiola, but on Jim's point, and it's probably a good time to talk about it because, you know, there's never really a good time to talk about it where they've so much strength and depth. You know, Nathan Ake's one of the defenders Jim was referencing there, 50 million, has hardly played. I know he's been injured. They've all these fullbacks, you know, Benjamin Mendy. They can afford to make a massive error on him and still have him part of the squad as backup. Like, we can go on and on. I can go on for about 10 minutes, but is this a point where are we going to be in 10 years time if this trend continues? Like, are City just going to like keep getting far better than like even the 3rd, 4th, 5th, or even the second place teams if Liverpool can't quite sustain what they've done the last couple of years?
Oh yeah, well obviously, but I think that those kind of years of dominance have been happened in football in a lot of different capacities.
But it's just the money wise, you know. Yeah, I know United are like that as well, but obviously the money's coming in here. They don't have to make a profit. City are just like unlimited money, where the money's coming from, all that kind of jazz as well.
Well, obviously once it was allowed with Abramovich, the model was always going to become effective and was going to happen again. And I've no doubt there'll be a club probably like Newcastle or someone who gets ownership by, you know, a Saudi or the Saudi consortium who are linked to it, or some other consortium that just pumps a load of money in. But it happens across all levels of football where the disparity of wealth wealth even between owners, between different clubs and leagues. You see it here. Obviously, Shamrock Rovers in the League of Ireland are probably the most powerful club money-wise, and they come up against Bohemians, who are fan-owned club, and they have been the whole time. And teams are expected to compete. It's just it's the beauty of the game, or the non-beauty of it. The thing with Man City is the fact they came from very little, and the rise was so drastic straight away, bar the kind of the Mark Hughes era. I think the thing with Man City is, I don't think it takes a good manager to win the league with Man City. I think that's been proven. I mean, Pellegrini went to West Ham and nearly relegated them within inside a couple of weeks. You had Mancini, who hasn't really done anything electric. Be interesting to see how he gets on later in the summer. But Pep, to distinguish him, definitely needs a Champions League. I think the style of football he brings is unique. I don't think Manchester City are a bad thing for English football either. I think for English football, you're getting more money into the game. You're getting Pep Guardiola coaching some of England's players, which you want more of in an England development stage of things. But definitely, I think Man City are getting out of control. But from an Arsenal fan's point of view, as a football club, Arsenal stuck within the realms of FFP, and that's just become nonsensical, really. And Manchester City were banned from this competition, and all of a sudden, after a few weeks, really, it seemed like that all changed. And there's that iconic image of what's his name, Khaldoon, I think, that one of the city officials walking in front of about 30 or 40 solicitors. I mean, this is just kind of the stuff that goes on at boardroom level, and I think they are becoming out of control. But I don't think there's a way of limiting them. FFP was supposed to do that. You speak to people, a club supporters like Everton, where they have a history and tradition of establishment and being a part of England and being always in England's top division, and FFP has really screwed them over. To name another couple of clubs with that history and tradition, and Manchester City have come in, and they're one of England's biggest clubs at the moment. They're a brand right around the world. They're allowed to have ownership of clubs in cities like Melbourne and cities like New York, and it's growing, really, and it is kind of out of control. And I think when first time I massively noticed it, I think that it was just something wasn't right, was when Lampard was at New York and came back and played on loan for City for that time. Or it just felt that felt a bit weird. It felt as if it was something bigger was at stake. But they have the best manager in the world. They have probably the best facilities now. They spend the most money in the women's game and at underage. But I think it is starting to get out of control. But a lot of clubs have done it. A lot of clubs splash the cash. But I suppose the thing is, where is Man City's coming from, and the morality of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Jim, on the kind of Manchester City point, it just seems like, take Spurs, for example, like, it was amazing how Spurs have continued to compete with City in like one-off games, like the Champions League matches and stuff like that. That time when you beat them to get the top four, or beat City to get top four. Are you worried, like, how, say, in 5-10 years time, like, obviously Pep won't be there forever, but City's money is just going to keep coming into the game, and it's just going to keep, like, the squad they have compared to even their next rivals in Manchester United, considering their bench there last night just shows you the difference already.
Yeah, I know. Well, Spurs used to be able to compete with Man City, not anymore. I don't know. It's just so, like, I know, like, I'd rather it happened to Spurs, or Spurs had all that money and actually had some invested more. But I don't know. I just think it's kind of unfair. There's like the fair play thing, the money fair play thing is just, it's an absolute disgrace. Like, it doesn't make any sense to anyone. Like, how can Man City spend that much money and like just get away with it all the time? Chelsea are kind of similar. Chelsea aren't as bad as Man City, but they've been doing it for a little longer. The amount of money like both of those clubs spend is ridiculous every summer. That's why they're in the Champions League final, I guess, because they spend the most money. But yeah, if it keeps on happening in the next 10 years, Man City win another 8 Premier Leagues. Liverpool might win one, Chelsea might win one, but it's just going to keep on happening the same thing.
Are you proud of Spurs in a way
But I
that?
think,
Well, go on, Sean.
I think the semi-final was a bit of a land. The night to the semi-final were a bit kind of a light bulb moment for a lot of people, where they were looking at this going, Real Madrid are supposed to be the good guys in this semi-final. That's who probably everyone was kind of rooting for. The people who've, been front and center this the ESL, and the history of Real Madrid and how they're established, and what happens when people go to Madrid, and everything that goes against them. So I think that was a bit of a light bulb moment. I also think the two clubs who've been the most proactive in a window of COVID and the time of COVID, and they've just kind of really found they have that dominance to just survive. And you get all this tripe with Man City, and at the moment, of what a great guy their owner is because he's paying for a couple of flights over for their fans. I mean, that's like me, giving a tenner to charity. It really is. I mean, when you look at the wealth that these guys have, they're owned by a state basically, in the UAE, and it's just pure dominance. And they've set it up so that they always have it. That'll always be there. That they will, never ever sell Manchester City. They will never stop investing because it's part of their portfolio, and it's open to buy really to a larger audience in England as well, and that's a huge part of it. And it's normalized things, and that's what Qatar have done, and that's the reason why the World Cup's in Qatar, because they're obviously, PSG are run by Qatar, and they put a lot of money into UEFA and FIFA, and they've made sure that they're getting the World Cup. So football at all levels really is corrupt, but certainly at the top tier it's just magnified. Yeah,
Jim, just final point, and then we'll actually talk about the game itself. Are you kind of proud in a way? Sorry, that's what's going to get to you. Proud in a way of Tottenham that you've not resisted. I guess you probably haven't had offers, but would you have liked to have gone down the route of Chelsea, where Chelsea ultimately had all that success with Roman Abramovich, winning Premier Leagues. Funny enough, just on my point earlier about the Champions League, they actually won the Champions League with one of their worst teams of the last 15, 20 years, which just shows you the luck involved. But are you proud of Spurs for not having that, or would you rather a little bit of success, I suppose?
I'd much rather some success. Spurs haven't won a trophy in 13 years now. I haven't tweeted in 7 years because of it. But 100%.
Just tell listeners about the tweet.
Okay, so 2000 and I don't know, was it 14? I tweeted that I won't tweet again until Spurs win the league. I was gonna do it when they won the Audi Cup, but I didn't do it then.
It was win a trophy even, wasn't it?
No, it was the trophy. Yeah, sorry, I say the league. They're never gonna know the league. That was the tweet. But I'd much rather Spurs have some money. Spurs we need some money. We got Daniel Levy doesn't spend any money, so we need some money.
Yeah. There's
Maybe not as much
as
Man City.
There's only so much you can sustain that really good negotiation. Who do you want to win this game, City, Chelsea, and how do you see the game going? I guess a little kind of mini prediction thing here.
I think most people want Man City to win because nobody supports Man City, But I think Man City will win as well. I think they'll win it. I know Chelsea beat them a few times now recently. They beat them in the FA Cup semi-final. But I think Mendy's injured as well, so that's a big loss. Man City, I don't think they have anyone really missing. Their team's just ridiculous. They don't even play a striker and they still score all these goals. With Mendy injured, I'd be very confident Man City should win this, maybe 3-1.
And no chance of Chelsea then?
No. Man City are just way better all over the pitch, really.
Yeah, Sean, I think the closer it's come, people have kind of said City, before saying it's a tough game. I see no reason why in a one-off game Chelsea can't give City a right game here, especially given the pressure on Pep Guardiola and what he's done when he's under that pressure in terms of changing systems. Mikel Arteta was a poor man's Pep Guardiola there, playing a false nine first leg against Villarreal. These lads start changing the formation, trying to get the perfect managerial performance where maybe just play your best team and hope you win, basically. It's probably the best form of winning this game.
Well, I think Pep's probably up against probably one of the worst managers that he'd like to be up against, Thomas Tuchel. I mean, the coaching detail that Tuchel goes into, and it's it's been proven that he kind of has Guardiola's number. I think we're going to see a final where both sides come with something extremely different. Very interested to see who plays left back or who plays in that defence. Certainly because Zinchenko played against PSG, and I think that was merely to deal with the real threat that PSG have in wide areas and on the counter attack. But where we see Cancelo, who's obviously got a bit more ball playing ability, and maybe Chelsea won't be afraid to sit back in their kind of blocks that they have in front of Mendy. So I think if we see Cancelo, we're going to see Manchester City try and control the game a lot more than they did in that second leg against PSG, where they hit PSG really on the break, and they were a lot more defensively resilient. I think it depends really on how the Chelsea front three line up. Is Kante fit? Is Mendy fit? I think if either of them doesn't play, it's major loss. I think it's certainly one of the bigger losses that Chelsea could have in terms of players. Also, if Werner, he's been struggling all season. Does he go with Werner? Does he go with Havertz? I think the team selection for both will be very interesting. Foden's going to have to start for Man City. Gundogan's going to have to start. Does he start Fernandinho? I think he will. Does he start Rodri? Does he play two in there? Does Raheem Sterling start? The team news is going to be extremely interesting on both sides. I think it will tell us a lot. Like I said, if we see Cancelo, we're going to see more of the ball from Man City, and they're going to try and dominate. But with Chelsea, I think they just got to go with pace. Obviously, Werner was really good in that semi-final against Manchester City. I thought at stages he was decent in the cup final and some of the other games he's played when he tries to get in behind and makes runs. But I'm not sure where Chelsea's goals are going to come from and if they're going to score one or two. I don't expect it to be a massive goal fest. Hopefully it is, but I expect it to be a really cagey game. But a lot happens in it, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of kind of things you can take away from the game. But it's two coaches who are elite coaches with differing levels across the squad. In some areas, both sides are really strong. In other areas, both sides at the moment aren't.
Yeah,
I know. Being the number 9 for Man.
Yeah, I know you mentioned Timo Werner there, Sean. Jim, final point on him. It's not really happened for him. Like, I was kind of bigging him up in the summer, saying what a brilliant sign he'd be for Chelsea, and we're a year into it. Bit of a disaster. It's a chance. It almost reminds you a little bit of Fernando Torres in the new camp here if he manages to score. And like he did in the semi-final, but if he could do it in a final as well. What's your thoughts on Timo Werner? Like, can he score 20 goals next season, basically, for Chelsea?
I don't know if he could score 20 goals. I don't know. I think he'd be better off if he's playing on the wing, to be honest. Not many teams have these kind of small strikers. Not many of the big teams. I don't think it really works. Like, if Chelsea should be going for maybe Haaland or someone like that in the summer, and play Werner in the wing, I think that'd be more suited to him. It's a completely different playing striker when you're that height in the Premier League to when he was playing in Germany. It's a lot more physical, But yeah, if I probably would start him over Havertz though on the weekend. I just think Havertz doesn't really get involved as much as Werner would, and I think Werner does have that pace that Havertz doesn't. Yeah, that's really it.
Well, it sounds like they probably need a Harry Kane next season.
We can't afford a Harry Kane, so it doesn't matter.
You're in denial there. Sean, sorry, yeah. So who do you think will win, Sean, final on the Chelsea City before we wrap up?
Well, I think it's whoever scores the first goal wins it. And I think it will come late in the game. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it's a good game. But I'll go with Man City to win. Foden to get man of the match, whether he's good or not. Certainly from BT. But yeah, Man City to
win. What
win.
about Foden for the Euro 2020 player of the tournament? Something eyeing up at the moment.
Depends who's picking the team. Because obviously
if he starts, like, you might not start.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a bit funny with certain things, but no, I think Man City will win. Hopefully it's a good game, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it be quite a dull game.
Yeah. the Euros. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of previews and stuff here on the Euros. We said to Jim he can leave if he wants or not on the Galta. We're just quickly going to mention this weekend that Division 1 South is Galway, Dublin, Roscommon, Kerry. Sean, I suppose all the round robin groups are coming up for grabs. That draw with Kerry Dublin's kind of made that group fascinating in the sense that, you know, if Galway beat Dublin, they actually knock Dublin out. There's no way that, you know, that there's no other result. Like Kerry will definitely get at least a draw off Roscommon. So it's actually set that game up nice, albeit I think Dublin are like in a different level to the Galway, whether they perform the league or not. Like, I think Dublin and Kerry are far superior to other counties. I see Tomas O'Shea trying to big up Tyrone during the week, but I do think Dublin and Kerry are a decent bit clear of the other counties. I don't know what you make of it.
Yeah, the thing with Galway is, last year in the league, I thought they were a massive breath of fresh air, and I thought they could really give teams a rattle. I don't know whether, I think they probably are a team that needed 3 games in the Super 8s or needed a couple of quarter-final tough games to build up their experience, because they are quite a relatively young side, certainly in the football that Porrick Joyce wants to put into them. But they have a lot of quality players. The game's in Tuam. I think it helps Galway a little bit. Weather, I think, is supposed to be pretty good this weekend, which probably helps Dublin. But yeah, the game last weekend has certainly opened it up. And I think it certainly exposed both teams' kind of vulnerabilities at the moment. And certainly Dublin's been with no Stephen Cluxton at the moment. So I'd imagine Porrick Joyce will work on Galway's kick out, and Galway have a lot of good ball winners in and around the middle of the pitch, and certainly a lot of pace to cause Dublin problems. So, you know, hopefully, I think some of these teams need to really step it up a gear, and hopefully they can.
Yeah, interesting. I suppose Dublin, the major loss there was John Small. I know he's had hamstring issues in the past, and then he's actually been doing very well last few years. And the fact that happened shows you just the training, and it was just the dry pitches kind of didn't help him out. But the other division there, the other group of Division 1 is North and Armagh, Donegal, Tyrone, Monaghan. I don't know about you, Sean. I've been very, very impressed with Armagh, and we mentioned them. We mentioned them on Monday show. They should have beaten Tyrone. They're 4 points up, had a penalty, or were they 1 point up? 1 point up, had a penalty, lost by 5. And I just couldn't understand Tomas O'Shea picking up Tyrone, because I think if anything, Armagh are kind of getting very close to them rather than Tyrone getting close to the top 2. But this is another group set up fasting, and this is going to be on a Saturday night, 7:30. So Armagh are home to Donegal, and Tyrone are home to Monaghan, who probably should have beaten Donegal the last day, but only got a draw.
Yeah, it's a really awkward group, because obviously it's going to be a reflection of the Ulster Championship, and we all know it's going to be, you know, there's no margin for error in the Championship. Yeah, I think there is a county that whoever wins Ulster is going to be, you know, flamed as the third best third best team in the country, really. Certainly with Armagh, they have a lot of quality. They've always had great footballing ability up there, and hopefully they'll be able to transfer that into a side. And, you know, even if you look at Kieran McGeeney's backroom staff of Kieran McKeever and Donaghy's up there, and you look at some of the footballers they have, you kind of hope them to do well.
Yeah, we just have a comment in from Matthew Murphy. So James, you obviously said you'd stay for the GA talk. What does James think of Armagh's performance there last week?
I don't want to think of Matthew's math, but I don't know what about Armagh. No, they're good. They're good.
Logan or Mayweather, James said Emmett. This is like Jim's personal Q&A on the podcast.
Mayweather, second round knockout.
Mayweather. Even with all those T's and C's in place now, does Logan not have a shot?
What are the T's and C's? There's no T's
just
and C's.
Different. Oh, that's the other. Yeah, the weights. Yeah, still makes no odds now.
Nah, Mayweather's gonna win pretty easy. Body shot. Good question, Emmett. Good question.
That's pretty much it from ourselves on Tackling Sport. At Tackling Sport, we're delighted to welcome back Tackling Sport. I will put you in the royalty camp, James, and we'll have you on again for the Euros. I'm sure. I'm sure people enjoyed not just your input, but the visuals as well. The Spurs hat, and you are sticking with Spurs and supporting Spurs despite your comment there a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, 100%. Sean, you can join Tottenham if you want. I know you were debating Arsenal a few weeks ago, but we'll have you.
No, you're all right.
Things could always be worse, Sean. Just check below. But yeah, Sean, thanks as always.
Thanks.
Yeah, at Tackling Sports social media, we'll have a lot of Euro 2020 previews coming up. We'll review the Champions League final as well, and be interested to see City Chelsea get on. Enjoy the weekend of sport, and thanks again for listening. Really, really appreciate it, and have a good weekend.